Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everyone. We know that there's no coincidences. Ein mikra. The fact that today is my father's Yartzeiht, and it's the same time that we're making a Siyum on Seder Nashim, is not a coincidence. It gives me the opportunity to make a Siyum Lila Nishmas, my father, Aaaron Tzvi ben Meir. My father, Rav Gershom Weiss, used to say that the Rambam says that anybody that dies because he's Jewish is a Kaddish. But somebody that survived the camps, and even after what he experienced in the camps, he stays Jewish, he's Kodesh Kiddushin. He's Holy of Holies. A fond memory of mine is one time my mother and father came to visit me in camp, Yeshiva Staten Island, in Kerhanks in New York, and Rav Moshe invited my father for Kiddush. So when my father was leaving, Rav Moshe escorted my father down the steps. Now, I have seen many people visit Rav Moshe, and the only other person he did that for was for Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. So I had asked Rav Moshe later when I brought lunch why he escorted my father down the steps. And he told me it should not be small in my eyes what my father lived through, and yet he brought up such a dar of Torah. My father experienced the Holocaust in its full ferocity. I mean, in its full ferocity. He told me when he passed away very young, at 61, from pancreatic cancer. And Dr. Cooperman, who treated him, told me that he has a very high percentage of patients with pancreatic cancer from eating the soup that they served from the kitchen in Auschwitz. My father told me straight out that he looked in the soup, there were rats in the soup, there were spiders, big spiders in the soup. He said it made no difference, you had to eat it. Because if you didn't eat it, then you fell at the mines and they shot you. Same way he told me that he slept on the third level of the barracks, there was a triple-decker, and he slept with a few people on the third level. And he said in the middle of the night, rats, sewer rats, would crawl amongst their toes. And he said you had to ignore it and go to sleep. Because if you didn't go to sleep, you dropped the next day and they shot you on the spot. It was a survival that we cannot comprehend. It's just impossible to comprehend. On his Yartzeiht is a big aliyah. If we learn from him, you might ask, and you would be right to ask, my father was 15 when he was taken into the camps. There were 14 in the Salish ghetto. Essentially, he didn't have any high school, any beis medrash, because after the camps, from the DP camps, he went to Berlin, and they taught him the leather trade in Berlin. There was a special program. He was a double orphan. They gassed his father and mother, so they taught him. So he basically did not have any yeshiva education after Cheder. And yet he was matzliach to bring up a family of 4 boys that are all incredible Talmidei Chachamim. And I think that the recipe was, the Gemara says, Haiman de Moike Rabbanan, Havin Leibanim Talmidei Chacham. One who shows honor to Rabbanim will have children Talmidei Chacham. My father was a very big Moike Rabbanan. He was a big Moike Rabbanan to his shul's Rav, Rabbi Singer, and he was an incredible Moiker Rabbanim to Ramosha. I remember he was completely Mavatal Das to Ramosha. In the camps, they treated the Rabbiner and the Malamed terribly. They were very sadistic. So he came out of the camps and he said, if I ever have children, I want my children to be doctors. And he wanted, I was the Bechar, he wanted very much my son the doctor. And I pushed it off. And then I told him, Daddy, I don't want to be a doctor. Let's talk to Ramosha. And Ramosha told him it would be a shame that I should become a doctor. And he listened to him. He reversed his whole way of thinking. He listened to Ramosha. I will also tell you that my father was a very normal man, even though he went through the Holocaust. He bought us Hardy Boy books from Linux as soon as they came out. He was always excited to bring home a new Hardy Boy book. He would always have in one of his pockets baseball cards. We were very into baseball cards. He would come up to the mountains. He had to work very hard in the leather trade. He worked for Carter's Leather Goods in Manhattan. So he'd come up late Thursday night and leave early Monday morning. But every Sunday he would take us to an arcade in Monticello to give us a good time. He would take us to Sullivan's, that was the fancy store in those days. Every Sunday. I very rarely saw him do anything for himself. Very rarely. He also, and this is a good thing for us grandparents to know, great-grandparents, he also complimented when somebody deserved the compliment. There are a lot of people that criticize, but they don't know how to compliment. When I gave a shir and it was good, he would say to me, "Wow, that was some shir." I still remember him saying it. He complimented. It's a very, very important thing. His memory should be for a blessing. He should be a Mel Siyosha for my mother, for Saba, for our entire family, and for all of us. He would have been very happy to see this shul and to find people that are here. It would have meant a lot to him. We have another special event tonight. One of our Chaver Adaf, Eddie Chazan, is here tonight. He is usually in a different state every night that he comes into Zoom. So as I said, check your pockets before he leaves, just to make sure, because he's always on the run. But Eddie, it's good to have you here, really is. I made an announcement. I made an announcement that there would be a Siyum tonight. We don't eat meat and drink wine during the 9 days because it's the time of mourning. And also it remembers that we don't have the meat of the karbanos and we don't have the wine of the nesachim. We make an exception for a Sudas mitzvah. The Kula Rebbe was telling me that his father made one Siyum during the 9 days, but his Zayda, the Chakal Yitzchak, made a Siyum every night during the 9 days. In Yeshiva, we made a Siyum regularly also. The Yeshiva had a Siyum almost every night. So this is a big Siyum on the entire Seder of Mishnayos. We're actually finishing now half of Shas, because this is ZY'A, Meir, and Nashim, so we're finishing half of Shas. So when somebody asks you which half you tell them the other one. But so it is a big simcha. We tell him something here, and then you could have fleishes at home. It's interesting. I made an announcement that if the wives want to eat, they should come, and if there are any women here, we welcome them. the Rebbe told me, if I'm a chassid, then even if the women don't come, they could eat because of Ishtay Kegufay. So I guess that was the Chassidish way. But anyway, so we're finishing now the Masechta. The Nishmas Aaron, Tzvi ben Meir. Lo yalamed adam ravok seifrim. A bachelor should not teach school children, because the mothers come to pick up the children, and he'll be alone with a mother, and it could be hanky-panky. V'lo talamed isha seifrim. Nor should a woman teach children, because she'll be alone with men that come to pick up their children. Rebbe Eliezer Aimer af misha ein lo isha, even if his wife is just not living with him, even if he's married, lo yalamed seifrim, should not teach children. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer lo yira ravak behema, a bachelor should not pasture animals because he might come to bestiality. V'lo yishnu shnei ravakim b'talas achas, and two bachelors shouldn't sleep under the same blanket because they might come to mishkav zacher. However, the Chacham say that Klal Yisrael is not nechshad, not on bestiality, and not on mishkav zacher, not on homosexuality. Kol she'iska yem Nashim, if a person deals all the time with women, and he sells them cosmetics, he sells them jewelry, lo yisyached yem Nashim, he shouldn't be alone even with three women. Although normally we say you could be alone with three women, but here, where they have dealings with him and they're familiar with him, he shouldn't be alone even with three women. And a person shouldn't teach his child a craft which makes him be amongst women, because it could lead to sin. A person should teach his son a trade which is clean and easy. So some learn Nikia means that it's honest. You don't have to get involved with shenanigans. With some trades, you have to get involved with all kinds of shenanigans. Eddie will explain to you later what that means. You should stay away from such a trade, and it should be kala. Kala here, the way the Taisus Yom Tov learns is it's not risky. Like a day trader is risky, right? It's not risky. Of course, there's a different way to learn Nikia v'Kala. Nikia means that it's clean, not a garbage collector, not a tanner that smells. And Kala means that it doesn't involve heavy lifting. It's like the Gemara says, what's a Nikia v'Kala? A tailor. Tailor is Nikia v'Kala. And a person should have his head on straight. He should pray to the one whose wealth and property belongs to. In other words, Rabbeinu Shalom. Because ultimately one's wealth is not dependent upon what he learns, what trade he has. It's dependent upon what the Rabbeinu Shalom decides. There's no trade that doesn't have poor people and wealthy people. Poverty doesn't come from the ominous, the wealth doesn't come from it either. It all depends on his merit. Did you ever see a beast or a bird that has a craft? Did you ever see a beast that was an accountant? A bird that was a courier? And they support themselves without any difficulty. Now, it's strange. The animals and the birds were only made to serve man. Vani nivreisi l'shamish kaini, while I serve my Creator. Eino dinsha Spanish lo b'tzar, surely I should have a livelihood without any problems. Elo sha'areyoisei masai, my deeds were failing. V'kipachti es parnasasi, and I lost my parnasa. Abagurian ish tzadian omam ishim Abagurian. Abagurian, a man from Tzadian, said in the name of Abagurian, Lo yalamed adam espenai. The following professions have problems. Don't teach your son to be a chamor, a donkey driver. A donkey driver has to spend a lot of times overnight. He pilfers, he steals from people wood and provisions. Gamol, a camel driver. Sapper, a person shouldn't be, we'll see why, a barber. The barber might see that the person is in a rush. And he said, well, if you want a haircut now, right before Shabbos, so it's going to cost you through the nose. Safan, a sailor. Sailors also, the Mefarshim say that they might try to play shtick and say they're not finishing the journey. They're going to leave the person off at the port, the nearest port, unless he pays extra cash. And the guy doesn't have a choice. What is he going to do? He's going to be stuck in the middle of an island somewhere. Roya, a shepherd, because people allow their animals to go in other people's flocks, other people's land. The chenveni, and storekeepers. Storekeepers, they have dishonest weights. They mix pebbles into the food, and they use dishonest weights. Shomunasan umanis listen, because their profession is a profession of theft. Rabbi Yehuda Mishmaya Chamorin Ruban Rishon. Donkey drivers, the majority of them are wicked. Like we said, they take from people when they stay overnight, and they try to raise people's prices in the middle of the job. But Vagamolan Ruban Kasherin. But camel drivers, because they travel in dangerous areas where pirates abound, they become Yerei Shemayim. So the majority of them are kosher. And Asafonim, sailors that are on the high seas, Pharisee Yisrael says that that which separates them from death, from the raging sea, is just a board. So they're full of Yerei Shemayim, Ruban Chasidim. The majority are pious. Toiv Sheberoifim Legehenim. The best of doctors deserve Gehenna. Now, one reason is because they don't, Rashi says, they won't treat somebody if the person doesn't pay. And the person could die. Another reason is because since they know medicine, they don't fear anything because they feel that they're not going to get sick. They know medicine, so they don't have any Yira. Another reason is that even the better doctors sometimes cause their patients to die. So Toiv Sheberoifim Legehenim, Va'kosher Shebetabachin, and the best of the butchers are Shutafei Shel Amalek, are a partner with Amalek. Now, why is that? This is because a butcher becomes cavalier with death. He's killing animals all the time. And it gives him a cruel streak, like Amalek, which was cruel. Rabbi Norai says, I'm going to tell you what's the best schayra. I put aside all crafts. I teach my child Torah. You get its reward, its payros in this world, and its principle stays to the next world. Other professions are not that way. A person gets sick or old, or suffering. He can't be a plumber anymore, or a car service driver anymore. He'll die from famine. Like Reb Kerzner from Beis Yehuda used to say, this is the real social security. The Torah is not that way. It protects us from all evil in our youth, and gives us security and hope in our old age. As the pasuk tells us, in one's youth it says, Hashem, those that hope to Hashem, yachlifu kayach, their strength will be renewed. They will flourish in their old age. Avram Avinu, may he be with peace. Avram Zaken, even though he was old, Hashem Bereches Avram Bakol, because Avram had Torah. You'll say it was before Matan Torah, but Matzinu Shas Avram Avinu as Kol Torah Kula actually Nitna. He fulfilled the whole Torah before it was given. Shenemar Ekev Asher Shama Avram B'Koili, because Avram listened to my voice. V'Yishmar Mishmarti, he guarded my guardianship. He kept the Lavin, ZY'A, the positive commandments, Kukaisai, those laws that are difficult to understand, like Shatnez and Bas B'Chalav, and V'Saraisai, and all my instructions. Hanulach B'Sechtes Kiddushin, V'Slika La Seder Nashim, Hanulach B'Sechtes Kiddushin, V'Slika La Seder Nashim, Hanulach B'Sechtes Kiddushin, V'Slika La Seder Nashim. Now anybody who finished should say this with us. Hanulach Seder Nashim Adachalon Daitan Lach Seder Nashim Daitachalon Loi Nis Nesheminach Seder Nashim Loi Sis Nesheminan Loi Ba'almadem Lo Ba'almadasi Hanulach Seder Nashim Adachalon Daitan Lach Seder Nashim Daitachalon Loi Nis Nesheminach Seder Nashim Loi Sis Nesheminan Loi Ba'almadem Lo Ba'almadasi Hanulach Seder Nashim Adachalon Daitan Lach Seder Nashim Daitachalon Loi Nis Nesheminach Seder Nashim Loi Sis Nesheminan Loi Ba'almadem Lo Ba'almadasi Haranadi Noelhein was the Visaras Mafino Obefias Amchabei Sovnia Kolon Wanachnu Setzei Tzatzainu Vitzatzei Amchabei Sol Kolon Yoidei Shemech Ovalim Dei Sarisecha Lishma Me Oivaisecha Knein Mitzvisecha Ki Lailam Hili Libi Sam Bechukech Laman Loi Evai Shloim Loi Ashkach Begudecha Ki Vam Chisani Baruch Atadi Noilam Dein Chukech Amen 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 Salva Ed Maidani Lefanech Adi Noyelahinu V'Lei Avasenu Shesamta Chelkeinu Yoshvei Beis Manishvil Samta Chelkeinu Yoshvei Kronos Shanu Mashkim Vei Mashkim Anu Mashkim L'Divrei Torah Vei Mashkim L'Dvar B'Teil Anu Amelim Vei Amelim Anu Amelim V'Kam M'Schar Vei Amelim Vei M'Kam M'Schar Anu Ratzim Vei Ratzim Anu Ratzim L'Chayelim Abba Vei Ratzim Vei Shachas Shenem V'Atalim Toridim Vei Shachas Anshe Damim Umirma Lo Yechatzi Yemei Mani Yaftach Bachi Ratzim U'Fnech Adon Noelein V'Avasenu Kishem Shazartein L'Usaim Seder Nashim Kein Dazvein L'Askal Sedar Macherim L'Usaim Lami Mitachar Chavalish Mavalas Chemis Kol Devei Sam Tersach Ba'ava O Zachos Kalat Tanoim Sami Dechachav Inskom B'Seder Nashim O V'Chala Svam Shalamanati Yamalanu Zareinu Zareinu Shalai Tam Shatayr K'dosh Mepich Nu Mepich Zareinu Mepich Zareinu Zareinu Me'atav Aroilam V'Yikuyim Banu Mekrish Kos Ba'Salech Tancha Isaac B'Shach B'Chotish Ba'Lecha V'Akitzai Sa'isichecha Kiviyah B'Yom Echa V'Yasifu L'Chash Neis Chaymer Yom Yamin Mismael Aishav Chavnan Noyais Amoitain Adinay Vareches Amoy Vashalom Yiskadal V'Yiskadash Mei Rabba B'Yamad Yuasid L'Schadas Olachi Yomei Sayula Sakayasam L'Chayalma Olamivnei Karta D'Yerushalayim L'Shach L'Leich L'Bigava L'Mekar Polchan N'Chram N'Ara V'Lasav P'Chana D'Ishmaya L'Asrei V'Yam L'Chuberichu B'Malchusei V'Karei B'Chayei V'Yamei V'Chayei D'Chol Beis Yisrael Bagalov is man Karivim Ru Amen. Yesh Mei Rabba Mivarach L'Olam Lo Me'el Maya Yisparach V'Yishtabach V'Yispar V'Yismam Yisnasei V'Yisadov Yisalev Yisalo Shmei D'Kudusha B'Richu Leila Min Kol B'Chasa V'Shirasa Tush B'Chasa V'Nechamos Adam Yiran B'Yom Avim Ru Amen. Al Yisrael V'Arabanim Al Talmidei Al Kol Talmidei Samidei Al Kol Mandos Gemar Aisa Dibasa Hadeim Dibachalasa Vasa Yein Nuchan Shamarabach and V'Christav Rachman V'Chay Enerich and V'Zani V'Chay V'Kanam Kadman V'Shmaya V'Aravim Ru Amen. Yein Shamarabah Min Shmaya V'Chayim Tovim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. O Se Shalom V'Raymav V'Rachmav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. Mazel Tov, everyone.